Job seekers look for headhunters who are helpful. That means that there are jobs readily available for them when they want to look for a job, or otherwise they present themselves. The headhunter should present to them the best opportunities with whatever role that they aspire to. That's number one. Number two, I feel headhunters should be motivating, give a lot of confidence and hope to the job seekers, and bring out the best traits in any job seeker. And thirdly, the entire process of seeking for a job should be made seamless, smooth, stress-free to the job seekers. So the headhunters should be able to give the best advice to present the job seeker.
I think when a job seeker comes to us, they want assistance, they want help, and it's incumbent upon us to be able to share with them job opportunities that's available. But more so to them is also, Genista uses the term motivating. I like that term because it is about giving hope to that individual that, hey, look, there's these jobs and then there are others where you can improve, increase your skill, and the opportunities become wider. So the counseling piece becomes very critical when we speak to a job seeker, not just the job at hand, but also what potentially can that person do. And I think that's a very, very important area that Jen has mentioned. Yeah.
The frustration can come in the form of not understanding the job seeker enough, not understanding their goals, their aspiration, whether they want to remain in the existing industry for career expansion, or maybe they want to move out of the industry to venture into new horizon. That is very important for us to know their true aspiration, as well as giving them the right job fit, something that best leverage off their experience or their interests or their hidden talents, right? We have to present the best job fit for the job seeker.
I think from our experience, I think more often than not, a candidate leaves being frustrated simply because they felt that the interviewer, the agency, did not take an interest in them, did not take an interest in understanding them, understanding the roles, and at the end of the day had presented them with roles that may not be even suitable for them or not something that they're interested in. Jen, what else do you have in mind?
Yeah, understanding the candidate's goals, aspiration is very important. It is not just what they were doing and their experience, it is what do they aspire in the next phase of their career, and to know in depth about what they are trying to achieve in their life. That is important.
Yeah, we speak to some of these candidates. We ask them, really, you've gone through a few headhunters, agencies, what's your experience? Because that's also a learning experience for them. And more often than not, they say that, hey, look, I'm just treated as perhaps one of the many that walk through the door, and the agency has just trying to get me into a role, and at the end of the day, they send me to X number of companies, and that's it. I'm just part of that resource pool, not an individual with a certain requirement and a certain job aspiration. So that's typically the frustration a job seeker has.
The job seeker should look at a headhunter's track record. The headhunter, do they conduct in-depth interview, advice, providing the necessary information to the job seeker about a potential employer? Not only that, the headhunter should be able to advise on his career path.
You're absolutely right, Jen, because that's exactly what our candidates want from us. They want us to be able to tell them, hey, look, these are the job opportunities available, number one. And then there's the counseling piece. If I want to expand, change my career, what do I do? And this is where our role as counselors come into play. So we need to have a very good understanding of what the opportunities are for a job seeker, and then present them with these opportunities and hold their hand through the entire process, that when they go for interviews with the potential employer, help them through that interview process, negotiate the best outcome for them. These are things that candidates in our experience tell us that they want. We fall back to what our candidates tell us, and typically with their experiences, within the first 2 minutes, they too size up the recruitment consultant or the headhunter. If that headhunter is genuinely interested, they will see in the first 2 minutes the conversation taking a shape and form, that the headhunter is asking them questions to understand them. Not just, like you rightly said, tick off the few questions. Is your salary doesn't need this, so off you go, Joe. Or you don't have this qualification, off you go, Joe. No, they've actually started with trying to understand the candidate. So that'd be the first warning signal. The second is, in our experience with our candidates, the candidates tell us that they pick up and go when the interviewer or the headhunter does is fit them into their box and ask them questions with regards to the role, and if they don't fit, they're out. So all this happens with a very short period of time, and these are some of the warning signals that the job seeker says, then I'm out of there. I'll be the first to put out my hand and say we are guilty of that at times as well, and that's sad, because here you send someone for an interview. The onus and the obligation is for someone like us to be able to provide some feedback that helps a candidate with them moving on to their next career. Feedback that will help them address any gaps in their skills, address any gaps in the way they conducted themselves in the interview. And these are good feedback. And sometimes we are guilty in our rush of not being able to do that. So yes, it happens. And one of the things that frustrates a candidate is after this, it's radio silence, and to address this, I guess the most important piece is we at FirstWorks Group, it is incumbent upon us to do a feedback session right after the interview. We have to have that as part of the process, and that helps us keep us in check. Jen, it's pretty much the things that you and the team talk about. Number one is, in addition to providing the available jobs or job opportunities, is also the counseling piece. The one where we sit down and try and understand their aspirations and what can they do in terms of upskilling, reskilling, or even for that matter, just changing certain aspects of how they conduct themselves during the interview, how they present their experience, present their achievement. So when we spend time in this area, we find this is time well spent for candidates. So we make sure that, number one, we're presenting them with opportunities. Number two, we're also doing counseling with regards to where they can actually move forward in their career. And number three, when they go for interviews sent by us, we make sure that we also negotiate a good outcome. That's a winning point for our client and also the job seeker.
I think as a responsible headhunter, we need to present a candidate in the best manner. So we have to guide them in terms of presenting their CV, of highlighting whatever that's necessary in terms of achievements, in terms of giving more substance to the resume, and also preparing the candidates substantially before the interview by guiding them to do some research on the future employer, get a whole lot of information about that employer. So this is what we guide them, and we also give them potential interview questions that they need to be prepared themselves, and how they carry themselves to attend the interview. I think these are all the necessary assistance that a good headhunter should provide the candidate, giving them confidence, giving them a lot of motivation to attend an interview for success.
Jen, you touch on a very, very good point. Many times we actually have a very strong candidate, and for the want of a better word, who does not interview well. They are technically inclined, they are strong, but they does either the choice of words, and it's simply just a choice of words that totally throws the interview off balance, and therein the guy does not get the job. And preparing them for the interview is an important aspect of the process that must happen. And this is where I think when preparing a candidate, these candidates have a better chance of actually getting the job, but more importantly is understanding that the recruiter or the headhunter does care for their role.
And can I just add on as well, as in a headhunter, I see myself as forming a long and lasting relationship with a candidate, not for a particular opportunity. It is really to see them through their whole career path end to end. So maintaining that sort of constant communication, providing them the constant grooming, development, training and development, and advice on their whole entire career path, I think that is essential. I see that as a long-term relationship.
Reach out to us. Come have a conversation with us. In that conversation, we'll do a discovery of where you like to be, what you like to do, who you like to be attached to, and then we start looking at opportunities out in the market. It's just that simple. Absolutely. I think the documentation form, a process of it, a resume with complete certification does help us in making sure that we tick off, cross the T's and dot the I's. We'd say yes.
I think any job seeker or not a job seeker, any employee right now, they should actually park their CV with us. Because when you want to share the CV only when you're trying to look for a job, sometimes it's a little bit too late because certain jobs just prop up, or we could have certain role for them that they never thought of. I always encourage a candidate to leave a copy of your CV with us. All right? So if there's any opportunity arises, even out of their expectations, we could always present it to them. You see, I think that is an important step to start with FirstWorks.
I think more often than not, there are certain demands a job seeker would have, but we'd advise them to be flexible, to understand what are the opportunities are there. The market has changed. The jobs that existed 10 years ago will not exist today. So they should be flexible and they should be adaptable to what's going on in the market. And this is an important step. I don't know if it's three, but if any, number one is really being flexible and adaptable out there. And with that conversation with us becomes much easier and to help the job seeker.